Cowbird by Jae Ess. Chapter 13. The Politician. It's Saturday, exactly 1 week since Louise's party and Harrison Squire's murder. Today her fiancé and his father have come to visit, so they can discuss the details of the upcoming engagement party. Before they can arrive, however, Father pulls me aside into his office. "You know enough about my situation, Francis, so I won't mince words," he says, still standing, leaning heavily over his desk as he looks up at me. "Porter Chocolates is in trouble. I need cash and I need it fast if I'm going to pull us through this. I know you've got some saved up." "But that's my money. I've saved it myself out of my allowance over the years." "And? What's the point in having it if it's just going to sit there?" "Actually, I was thinking." "What?" I won't say it. Not to Father. That I'd recently begun to imagine moving, starting a new life in Egypt. He'd only discourage me if he knew. He's never liked the idea of my being away from home. "How much do you need?" "All of it. You'll get it back, of course, with interest. Think of it as an investment." "And how long before this investment pays off?" Father seems to barely be restraining himself from unleashing all his frustration on me. His face is red, and a vein bulges threateningly in his forehead. "Understand something. I'm the head of this family. If I go under, you all go under. So either help me save the company or else." "Or else what, Father? We lose Porter Chocolates? The cars? This house? None of that affects me, since I have enough money to live off of comfortably." "But think of our reputation. Think of the family." I stare back at him coldly. Then Sam's comment from the other day comes to mind, and with a faint ironic smirk, I can't help but repeat it. "To tell you the truth, I wouldn't give 2 cents for that lot you call family." "Francis!" "I'm not saying no, just yet," I put out, and Father's mouth snaps shut. "But you must give me a day or two to think about whether or not I'll put all of my savings into Porter Chocolates." "Please," he says, and I hear the desperation in his voice. "We don't have much time. Every minute we delay brings us 1 step closer to bankruptcy." "I'm sorry, Father, but that is my decision." Without allowing him even another word, I turn and head for the door. Stopping with it open, I look back to him gravely. This man, Stanley Porter's only child. If he's had one love in all his life, it's money. When Grandfather died, he left behind a healthy, thriving business. We were millionaires. But that wasn't enough for Dwayne Porter. He took that money and risked it all on one too many high-stakes ventures. If he'd only been content to grow the business a little at a time, instead of trying to double and triple his wealth overnight, perhaps we wouldn't be in this mess. But I suppose that's a lesson he's learned too late, since he's already been reduced to begging me for $20,000. In the hallway I run into Will St. James Sr., the Retonian Secretary of Commerce, who seems to be coming out of Louise's room. I greet him with a polite murmur, but he only lifts his gaze haughtily away from me and walks on down the hall, content to pretend I do not exist. It doesn't bother me, really. I'm used to this kind of treatment. Passing the window, I happen to notice Louise's fiancé, William Jr., strolling by himself through the gardens. Inspired, I hurry quickly down the stairs and outside, eager to ask him a few questions about the day of the murder. The timid man starts at my appearance. Then he smiles a little uncomfortably. "Miss Francis, the weather is nice. I was just taking a walk. Do you mind if I join you?" "Not at all," he says, though his tone and body language are not so inviting. He starts to offer me his arm, which I awkwardly refuse, and he lowers it with a jerking motion. "Nice weather," he remarks for the 2nd time, taking in a huge breath through his nostrils. "The air's not so clean in Solaria." "Do you think you'll settle down in the country when you marry Louise?" Oh, I think she'd prefer to live in the city. Besides, there's my career to consider. That's right, you're thinking of getting into politics like your father, I believe. Well, one day. For now, I'm just an errand boy to the bigwigs. That's a start. I give him what I hope is an encouraging smile, and he returns the gesture with more of a grimace, though I sense he's not trying to be rude. He's like me, I realize with a pang. Not ugly, but just as graceless. It's almost funny in a way. We might have been friends, if we'd ended up as brother and sister-in-law. I say if. It ought to be a done deal. He's engaged to my sister after all. But that future which once seemed so clear is obscured now. Nothing is certain, especially when I know the question I'm about to ask. William? Yes? He says, jumpy. I wonder if you could clear something up for me. I can try. He gives me a grimace smile once again. It's about the party last weekend, just before my father's toast. Louise, she'd gone missing, hadn't she? Did you notice for about how long? Hard to say, really. She said there was something she needed inside the house and slipped off for a bit. For how long? I prompt him again. Oh, about 10 minutes. It was longer than that, I point out. We spent at least that long just standing around with champagne glasses in our hands. I really couldn't say. Perhaps 20 minutes. 25 at most. And did you happen to notice, was your father also absent around that time? William Jr. stops in his tracks. He presses his lips together, looks down on me with something like fear in his eyes. Or is that shame? I'm sorry, Miss Frances. I really can't recall. Excuse me, he says abruptly, and hurries away on ungainly strides, leaving me standing alone in the garden, staring after his slouching, awkward figure. Dinner is an uncomfortable, strained event. Will St. James is the only one with a mind to talk, it seems, and the rest of us only smile tightly at his observations, or answer him in monosyllables, with the exception of Father, who does his best to act as though his life isn't currently going up in flames. And Mother doesn't answer at all. Of course, the young couple should honeymoon in Solaria. Exotic locations are nice and all, but the young man must put his career first, and make himself available to the politicians. I think it's a fine idea, Father agrees, doubtless thinking of how much it will save on expenses if he doesn't have to send them on a long-destination honeymoon. Yes, and I rather like the idea of keeping my daughter-in-law close at hand. I'm sure she'll get along splendidly with my wife. Will smiles easily at Louise, who hides quickly behind her wine glass, while beside her, Ben lets out the faintest smirk. I've yet to have the privilege of meeting Lady St. James, Father remarks. I'm afraid Eileen is confined to a wheelchair, so it can be difficult for her to get around. The virile, opportunistic Will St. James married a handicapped woman? Somehow, that's a little hard to picture. How unfortunate. Yes, well, she's been that way since childhood, poor dear. Though being the daughter of the old King's Minister of Education, she never lacked for proper care growing up. Ah, Eileen had a father in politics. Suddenly the dynamics of his marriage make a little more sense. And of course I take excellent care of her now. Will smiles again at Louise, and something about the look he gives her reminds me of Letty's name for him. Snake in a suit. Young William stands suddenly, pulling the tablecloth with him as he does and very nearly upsetting everyone's drinks. What's gotten into you, boy? Will snaps. Sorry. Sudden stomachache. Excuse me, he says quickly, and he rushes abruptly from the room. The latter half of dinner is even more uncomfortable than the first, though Will seems blissfully unaware of this as he continues to speak of life in the capital, and name-drop some of the important people he rubs shoulders with on a day-to-day basis, including King Leon himself, though really, I think none of those present are particularly impressed by this, least of all Mother, who falls asleep in her chair just as Susan is bringing out the ice cream. That night I returned to my room to write a few more lines in my notes. Since losing the first batch to Louise, I've kept them under lock and key in my drawer, and I'm careful to bolt my door after me whenever I'm in my room. Father's gun sits at the corner of my desk, between the candelabra and the lynx skull. I'm working like this, lost in my thoughts, when the sound of an argument comes to me from outside the window. Thinking at once of Jackson and Ben, I'm quick to douse the lights in my room and go over to it to peer out into the darkened yard. It's the same secluded spot where two men meet, but it's not my brother and his sleazy friend. It's Will and William Jr., and by the look of things, they're having it out. It would seem the boy's finally grown a spine, and he's standing up to his father, but the old man's not taking it well. The muffled argument quickly devolves into a scuffle, and blows are exchanged. I watch in mute horror, not really sure what to do. This is a private matter. Do I have any right to interfere? Well, I think when it looks like the young man is beginning to shrink beneath the blows of his remarkably agile and powerful father, does it matter? Throwing open my window, I yell so they will hear. "Spencer? Spencer, did you hear that? It sounds like it's coming from the yard. Perhaps you should send the guards to investigate." Of course, Spencer's most likely downstairs in the kitchen, preparing to turn in for the night. But these words should at least frighten them into settling down, and hopefully spare William Jr. a worse beating than what he's already taken. It's the least I can do for him, I think, as I turn from the window. For an unlikely kindred spirit. For the man that would have been my brother-in-law. I know now. I've finally figured out exactly what's been going on in this house. All that's missing now is the final piece of evidence. And I think I know exactly where I'll find it. The St. Jameses leave early the following morning, before anyone else is even up. At breakfast I noticed Louise is looking especially anxious. Meanwhile Ben sits beside her looking smug as the cat who got the cream. After our meal has ended, Ben saunters off, whistling to himself. That's when I pull my little sister aside. "What do you want, Cowbird?" "You don't have it, do you?" "Have what?" "The money to pay off Ben." Her eyes go wide at my words, and all the color drains from her face. She yanks me suddenly into the nearest room, shutting the door sharply after her. "How much did he tell you?" she hisses. "No one has told me anything. This is just the conclusion I've come to after all my snooping. Ben's been blackmailing you, and it isn't hard to guess with what." Louise bares her little white teeth at me. She looks furious enough to kill. But with a gun in my pocket, I'm not in the least afraid. "Has he told St. James yet?" She's trembling, bites her lip. "No. But if I don't pay up soon, it's only a matter of time. Francis, you have money, don't you? You have to help me. If I don't pay him off—" "Where's he keeping the negatives?" "In his room. But he's got it triple locked. I've tried everything I can to get inside, but not even the servants have all the keys." "I can get inside," I say confidently. "But you'll have to get Ben out of the way for a bit." Louise's eyes light with hope. "I can do that." "Oh, Francis, can you really? I'd do anything. Give you anything." "I don't really want anything from you," I say, thinking just how strange it sounds to hear my sister use my real name instead of calling me Cowbird. "I just want to get to the bottom of this."
I'll be so alone without you.